to make bold moves. Now
founder of the Black Panther Party. Actually, the Black Panther.
We worked with many to your work.
Back into the hearts and the minds of our community. I got into this thing.
Hey, good afternoon. Miguel Lloyd, host of Chamber Live, and welcome to the show today. Make sure you guys can hear me good here. Microphone's hot, microphone check, 1 2 1 2. Welcome to our show today. And as we mentioned, this is Chamber Live. We're back at it this year. As last month we had a great show with our women's league, as we had Michelle Glover and some cohorts from the Women's League, and they just came off of an amazing retreat that was last month, and so it is rolling. If this is your first time tuning in Chamber Live, we take the content that is going on here in the Chamber, in the Atlanta market, Atlanta DMA, and we talk about it here on our show. And so today we have a new co-host. Our sister, as we mentioned, Raquel Hill, was here with me for the first couple of years. She is busy over there at the Russell Center, and so she is now over there primarily. And so I said, who could we have sit in with me on these Chamber Live programs? And I only had one thought. I had this queen right here, Miss Kela Taylor. How you doing, sister?
I am so happy and humbled to be working with you, Miguel. And yes, huge shout out to you.
That was a complete accident. I'm over here hitting buttons. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sis. It is so great to see you, see a pretty smile, and the work that you've been doing now with the Chamber for the last, man, we always say the pandemic year threw us all off. We say, oh, it's been the last couple of years. You've been a member of the Chamber probably pushing 4 or 5 years, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been part of the Chamber since 2017 or 18.
So now we're talking about 6 years you've been hanging out with us here with the Chamber. And so tell us a little bit, if people don't know who you are, tell us about yourself and your business, because here's, we always, for our viewers, this is the Chamber is the Chamber. All of the leaders and people who are helping to run this Chamber are all business people in our own rights. We all have our own different business entities. So tell us about what you do, Kela.
So, quick little backstory. I'm from Cincinnati, Ohio, came down to Atlanta 17 years ago. This is the place where
Girl, you look 17. You told me you came down here 17 years ago. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Definitely the place where I long to be. And, just fast forward, I, became part of the Atlanta Black Chambers, part of the leadership team. Y'all, I have come a long way, Miguel. I've come a long way. But former Salon Suites owner, Universal Salon Suites, and I'm actually back into the workforce, working with the great, amazing MIT of the South, Georgia Tech. So
Okay.
I'm living life.
Okay.
I'm living
Okay. And then you also had a book that you wrote recently, I believe. And so let's talk a little bit about that before we get into the show.
Oh my gosh. So the book, it's actually about my experience working, being a salon suite owner. It's called My Dream Business, My Worst Nightmare. It was literally everything that I ever wanted. I just wanted one location, one salon suite. I thought that was going to be my end all be all to my wealth. Well, that dream business was definitely my worst nightmare on so many levels. Black entrepreneurship, modern day oppression and Black entrepreneurship, experience, my experience with working with the, white boys, them being the landlords, working with other Black women.
Mm-hmm.
We all about, especially with the Women's League, we're all about uplifting one
Mm-hmm.
another as Black
Mm-hmm.
women. We need it. But I really experienced the opposite. I experienced most of the ridicule from other Black women. The beauty industry can be very ugly.
Wow.
So that's what the book is about.
Well, where can they find that book?
Oh, okay. On
We
Amazon.
promoting. We are not playing. We are Black business people here. You got stuff to sell. We're gonna sell it so we can find it on Amazon.
Yes,
Look.
it's on Amazon. My
Mhm.
dream business, my worst nightmare.
Okay.
Amazon, baby.
All right. So let's get into it. So you are very active, as we mentioned, in the community. So you are constantly at a lot of events, and it is hard in this day and age to keep up with everything that is going on with the chamber. So we're gonna do the very best that we can to get you guys up to speed. And so, as we mentioned, the Atlanta Black Chambers, you can follow us on all the different social platforms, without a doubt, and find everywhere that we're going and what we're doing. But let's talk about what we're doing right now. So here we are. Here's our Instagram page, and as we mentioned, my goodness,
Yeah.
we got a lot going on. Let's first talk about this particular event. This was the event that happened a couple days ago, and it was with Dr. Adoma hosted this event. Talk to us about it because you actually were featured at this event.
Oh my God, Miguel. That is very near and dear to my heart. We closed out Women's History Month with that particular inaugural breakfast hosted by Dr. Diana Doma.
Mm-hmm.
Melvin, he was texting me like, I need you to be at this event. Are you going to be there? I was like, yeah, I'll be there. Dang. Yeah, I'll be there. And, because Dr. Adoma, she gets started early.
Yeah.
Like, he's up before the crack of dawn.
Yeah.
And she's up and at him. So I was like, okay, I set my alarm clock for 6 so I can be there on time. I was actually there early and I got an award. She acknowledged me. I got an award. So that hug that you see there of me hugging Dr. Diana Doma. She's a woman that, like I said this to her recently, I known her longer than she's known me.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that I admire, that I look up to. So I am the chair of the Governmental Affairs Committee now, working alongside Dr. Adoma. I just look forward to doing some great things with her, y'all, later this year.
Absolutely.
I'll plug that later, but we got
Absolutely.
some great things going
Absolutely.
on.
It's, as we mentioned, we are a committee-driven organization, the Atlanta Black Chambers, and one of them is the Governmental Affairs Committee. Led Dr. Doma is the vice president of that particular part of our community. Kela now, who is working alongside her. But we love to recognize the greatness of our community. And so congratulations, Sherilyn Sellers, who you see there on the screen. My sister, we've been working together here with the chamber for God knows 6 or 7 years, and she's got a business right now that's really flourishing in the tea business. But tell us a little bit about. I wasn't there, but I know what Sherilyn has gone through over the last 2 to 3 years, and so my understanding she really gave some inspiring words at the event.
Woman commanded the room.
Yeah.
I got to learn a lot about her, business with the Urban Tea Party. She's killing the game.
Absolutely.
Whether you're in the tea industry or not in the tea industry, you need to know who Sherilyn Sellers is.
Absolutely. And Sherilyn Sellers also, along with myself, we serve on the board, and we're trying to continue to help to steer our organization in the right direction, along with our leader, obviously Mel and others. So a couple other things that are coming in, things that we did in the month of, what are we in? Our April now in March. It's going so fast. This particular week coming up, there is an event that we love you all to attend. And all of this stuff you can find on our Eventbrite page to register. Store and share and vault sophomore launch is going to be tomorrow. Today's Thursday. So there's another opportunity for us to connect. Financial trauma. This one is next Wednesday. So when people ask me, they say, "What are you guys doing with the chamber?" I said, "What aren't we doing?" Between in-person and virtual events, we're doing anywhere between 6 to 8 events per month. And so if you're looking for a reason to connect with the chamber, and it's not, as you can tell, it's not just one committee. This is the Financial Services Committee that is producing this one. Financial trauma, how fast how your past financial trauma can delay your future financial success. And we'll be sure to talk about that with DaVaul here soon, because we want to talk about building, all of this stuff is a part of the process. And so that's one thing that you'll see we're doing. But it's just a whole lot coming up. We got our golf tournament that is coming up in the month of June. Pre-registration, I believe, has started for that. And that'll be in the South Metro, which is great because I'm in the South Metro. I love when we get to push things in the South Metro. And then every Tuesday, just this past Tuesday, we had Matt Hampton, Executive Director of the New Black Wall Street Market and Director of Entrepreneurship at the Allen Entrepreneurial Institute. If you haven't been to that place, you need to check in. That is out there also in the South Metro in Stonecrest, and there's some great things going on. What other events you want to talk about that we have not talked about yet? Now I'll see if I can pull it up.
So shout out to our leadership team, right, Miguel? I mean, we are all just in the mix, filling up the 2023 calendar. We had pretty much had the 2023 calendar filled up in 2022, right?
Yeah, and it's continuing to get to find holes and plug them in. I'm planning something right now in the South Metro around the restaurant industry that we will be doing next month. And that's just the South Metro. There's a plan right now. Well, it's the springtime and bugs are coming out of they're coming out of hiding. The North Metro will be launching soon. We've been talking about the South Metro for the last couple of years. North Metro will be launching soon. So keep an eye out for that. The ladies will have this was brought on Black, the Sister Self-Protection Seminar. That's coming up in June. So if you're looking for reasons to connect, and here's the great thing about the organization communities that we've built here. When you get to meet people, the primary purpose of our organization is to connect and give you opportunities to do business with other folks in the community. And so the opportunity is obviously there. There'll be a ton of opportunities that will continue to surface for you guys. If you're looking for ways to follow us, this is our Instagram account that you see. Here is our LinkedIn page, which is actually the show is broadcasting live on the LinkedIn page as we speak. Here is our YouTube page. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe on all of these pages. Here is our Facebook page. Here is our ABC Marketplace, which I definitely want to talk about ABC Marketplace, because here's an opportunity. We've been very intentional about keeping our ABC page itself a little bit cleaner. But because we wanted to make sure we had a little bit more control over on how that is being communicated. This ABC Marketplace is an opportunity for you to share your products and services to the community, with the community, and connect and do business with each other. We want to hear your testimonials. Make sure you give us our testimonials about you guys working together. That is so important for us to progress. And so join the ABC Marketplace. If you are a member, you can post. If you are a part of the community, you can do business with anybody that you like. Just jump up in there, find something you like, whether it be any sort of plumbing services or insurance services or whatever. Connect with the folks there via that page. All right, cool. So real quick, we're going to have our guests come in here pretty soon. But, let me see. We got a couple of comments. Let me see. I think I saw somebody in the comments. Let me see who we got here. Add this to the... Thank you, Miss Wilder. I appreciate you checking out the promo. Miss Jam Good says she's excited about the conversation today. We're all excited about this conversation today, no doubt about it. So Left Field's giving love to Dr. Adoma. Make sure you guys drop your websites, your whatever you're promoting in your social media following, your social media handles in the comments and reactions, because we want to make sure that we can bring up some of those during the course of the show. All right, so I want to get ready to bring our guest in, because this is a really important conversation that we're going to talk about today. We want to focus on building wealth in our portfolios, in our communities. And one thing you learn about us is that we don't try to act like we know it. We've got too many experts and too many folks in our space who know what they're talking about and know what they're doing. And so we like to bring them into the conversation. And so let me bring in our guest for the day. Brother DaVaul, how are you this afternoon, sir?
Hey.
I'm doing good. How are you both?
Man, we are good. We're glad you made yourself available for us today. As we talked about, we want to get into this conversation. There's a lot going on in the world of finances. There's always a lot going on in the world of finances. And one of the first things I want to do, I want you to introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what you do, and how you're going to be able to serve our community.
Absolutely. Well, first, as always, thank you all for allowing me to be here today. My name is DaVaul Carter. I am a financial advisor. My firm is Edward Jones. ideally, how I like to structure myself and position myself is I'm that individual, I'm that person that allows you to move the needle from point A to point Z. There are plenty of financial strategies, questions, assessments that can be made. My job is to identify your goals, to help you figure out the best strategy to achieve that goal, and ultimately partner with you from where you are now, from where you like to go.
So there's a lot of us, and I appreciate you coming to that. There's a lot of us who have no idea what a financial planner does. Unfortunately, can we have a real conversation here today? There's a lot of folks that are making money. They go see the tax man once a year. They don't understand how to place their money in different areas, tax shelters, or places to make great investments that are going to help them pay for their kids' colleges and things of that nature down the line. That's your space. Let's have some real conversation around some of the things. Is they're looking at the banks collapsing, and they're looking at the dollar now losing its value, and they're looking at all of this stuff that's going on in the marketplace. You as a financial planner, if I was your client, how would you tell me to respond to what's going on in the market right now? Or how are you telling? Because I'm sure you're having these conversations.
Yeah. So I think being lighthearted, something we've heard our whole life, this too shall pass, right? That's being real lighthearted and saying that. But in sort of looking at that, navigating where we are sort of in the business market cycle. The market itself is cyclical, but that does not mean every ebb and flow sort of applies to you. The things I would sort of encourage you to do, let's focus on your goal. Is your goal going to happen within the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks? Is your goal sort of focused around the long term? And if it is sort of the long-term play, then let's focus on taking advantage of wherever we are in that market cycle right now.
And Kela, jump in when if you have a question. This is a fluid conversation. There's a lot of folks who may approach a conversation around their finances, and they're always a little leery to share that with anybody, right? They always, everyone wants to front. You got a nice car outside, you live in a nice house, and there's so many folks who don't have their finances together. What are the first things that people should be doing on their own before they approach someone like yourself?
Ooh, my goodness. I think the easy answer is sort of know where your income is coming from, understand your expenses, and just have a basic understanding of what budgeting is and what it means. Simple as that. And that doesn't apply to, that does apply to anyone and everyone, not being specific to age, not being specific to experience, or even network. Those are sort of some of the basics that are involved, but at least opening the door to having someone help you, such as myself.
We got a question, and Kela, if you have something, I'm gonna pull this up once we get a chance to respond. This question from the audience: how does one stay focused on the market when the market offers such volatility?
Yeah, great question. Yeah. And I would push that back to say, what is your goal, and how does the market and your goal apply to one another? Sort of just as I mentioned, if retirement is your goal, are you retiring this year? Are you retiring 10 years from now? Are you retiring 20 years from now? So putting that into perspective, and retirement is only one goal. There are other goals associated, such as business, children, you name it. There's plenty of them, but allowing the market and your goals to align together. And in that is where someone like me comes into play to help you understand the opportunities, but also strategies that may be applicable to you during this specific volatile market cycle.
Let's talk about this. And Kela, coming to you next. You go ahead, have something ready. We're talking to a community of entrepreneurs. So let's just say, let's lay out a scenario. You got a 2-income household. You got one person who is carrying that 9 to 5. You got the other person who is the entrepreneur. How do you approach those type of relationships?
To the core, who's the spender? Who's the saver? Ideally, who is the person that you would consider the financial steward in the relationship? And it could be one or it could be both of you. Who are the people that are dependent on you, whether they're kids, whether they're your employees? And also, where do you want to be within what time frame? So sort of position it to understand, hey, you have a goal that is completely different to mine. Mine is completely different to yours. Where and how do we begin positioning our alignment together to understand how do we get to that goal?
Got it, Kela.
So first of all, DaVaul, what's up? don't know this. DaVaul is one of the first ones that I met before I became YEC.
Okay.
So it's like that kindred ABC brother of mine. So what's up, bro? No. So the world is crazy right now. And I'm a firm believer in history repeats itself. We experienced the Great Depression in 1932, 1933. We're in 2023 right now. Should we be worried? Should we be? I know I know what a financial advisor consists of. It consists of, taking our money, managing it, putting it into the market. Should we be investing in the stock markets right now? Seriously. And I know you're going to give it to us real.
Mm-hmm. So the answer to that is the stock market is going to be cyclical. Are the opportunities the best in the stock market right now? No. The market itself is volatile. It's a scary place to be. Does that mean we pull all of our money and run to the hills? Absolutely not. But I think in following the data, fixed income is sort of presented itself as a great place to be. So you mentioned sort of a catastrophic event such as the Great Depression. That means that things are terrible, things are bad, things have uncertainty, but that doesn't mean that there are not opportunities available. So when we speak about opportunities, sort of riding the actual market cycle to understand what those opportunities are. And just as an example, a lot of people have focused on CDs. They've come back in a good way. Some people have sort of looked again at money market accounts and have sort of seen what the last decade yielding much of nothing was, to sort of now again, sort of that yield jumping over to 2, 3, 4%, depending on where you're at. So paying attention to where the market cycle is, but also having someone sort of be that guide for you. And I think that is sort of the biggest trouble or the biggest uncertainty that there is. A lot of people don't want to be receptive to the data, and they don't want to sort of understand right now versus what will be later on.
Crypto. Let's talk about these other means of money that is out circulating, and we're seeing some changes. I saw something today that said the feds are actually getting into that space now, where they're trying to almost replace the Cash Apps and Venmos of the world, right, and get into digital currency. As we're seeing those type of things, does that feel like noise to you, or as an average person who's working a 9-to-5, an entrepreneur making money, how do we navigate all of the financial turmoil, which it seems to be happening right now? Because there's a lot of upheaval going on right now around the world.
Yeah. Number one, understanding your risk tolerance. Some people have an aptitude to be a high risk person. Some people have the assets to sort of be in that space. Some people are in their own personal mature cycle to where they can take some risk unassociated with some of their more important goals. So through all of the world of high risk, high stakes, whether we're talking about crypto, whether we're talking about money exchanges, whether we're talking about even some higher risk business investments, understand where you are. Are you at that optimal state that can afford you to lose some money? Are you at that state where you're sort of in its infancy and you can't lose anything? Sort of understanding your risk tolerance is really important. I think the market presents plenty of opportunities to make money, whether you're on either side of the spectrum. But before you get into anything, you got to know where you are.
Yeah. We got a question from the audience here. Shall I keep my funds in high yield savings accounts? Want to learn to prepare for this new phase for the money.
So, Alice, I would ask a couple of follow-up questions. What is this money appropriated for? Is it emergency savings? Is this investment money? Is this money to support somebody else? I think I've got plenty of other follow-up questions which will determine whether or not you keep it there.
That's a good one. Kela, you got anything?
I want you to just meet us where we are. I know you got your follow-up questions, but if it was you, how would you answer that question if it was your question?
If it was my question and it high yield savings, absolutely. Absolutely. So I think if this is me and we'll just do a case study of this, if it's me, I'm keeping my money in some high yield savings, but I'm also looking to get into the market gradually. I'm not sort of running to the hills and taking my money out of the market. As bad as last year was, this year the market is up. It's up single digits. We're almost up 2-3%, which is better than what it was tremendously last year. So yes, But if that money is sort of hedged for investing, I'm taking some of that each month and sort of pushing it into the market gradually, which is called dollar cost averaging.
So take us a little bit through it, and I respect you not giving all these answers. I need to get some consultations and meet up with you to dig a little bit deeper. I get it, absolutely. But there's a lot of folks that are sitting with a lot of money in their savings account. You know, you got $100,000 sitting in the savings account that's yielding you 1%. There's got to be some better things you can be doing with a portion of that money, right? And that's something that I think people are leery to have that conversation. We grew up with grandma with the money under the mattress, digging under the mattress when it's time to make a major purchase, and that's just not where we should be. But let's talk a little bit about where are some of the safest places people can start to see some of that, because once you start to see some of that return from money that's just sitting there, then people are going to become more curious and say, well, what else can I do with this money that's going to give me 2%, 3%, 5% return on money that's was just sitting there 2 years ago?
Agreed. And it becomes addictive. I'm going to change that word just a little bit, Miguel. Once you start to see it grow, it gets addictive and you want to learn a little bit more. Sort of shifting gears, conservative investments that are working. Someone mentioned high yield savings are good. CDs are good. At this moment, sort of lock in a rate of return for a specific period of time. You can look at money market accounts are good. If you have the risk for it, we can look at individual bonds of all type of assortments. Those are going to be some of your more conservative options. Putting some context on that, probably since the Great Recession of 08, 09, those type of investments really weren't attractive because the stock market was in double digits for many of those years from 09, well, let's just say 2010 to even 2021.
Okay.
So they weren't attractive, but where we are market cycle wise, conservatively, they've become that much more attractive because some of the higher risk assets come with that much more volatility.
So you're telling me if I was in the market, say in 2012, and I was losing my shirt and it scared the death out of me in 2012, 10 years later to 2022, you actually are missing out on an opportunity because you're not probably paying attention to what has changed since the crash of 2008 was what it was, right? We're now, 15 years away from that. So if I'm that scary person who's not back in the market because of what happened 10, 12 years ago, what are you telling them?
Learn from the past. I think add into that, if we put some fun facts on that, 2010 to 2020 was the only decade in U.S. history there was no recession. 2010 to 2020, the stock market averaged double digits. Even if you want to count 2021 and the COVID year, we bounced back very fast. So if you are someone that is conservative, if you're someone that is a novice, if you're someone that isn't as knowledgeable, that's okay. But that's where you come into play and you find someone that you trust that you can speak to about how to get into the market. Typically, most investors get into the stock market to hedge inflation. And inflation has sort of been top of mind this year and last year. And historically, it's been averaged around 2%. But basically, inflation gives you the opportunity for your money to be appropriated based off of losing. So the stock market has been 2%, so your spending power is about 4%.
Got it. Got you froze up there for a second for us. Kela, you got something while I bring up this next question from the guest?
Yeah, so we're talking a lot about digital, commodities or whatnot. Society today is not really talking about obtaining gold and silver. Should we be, refocusing our minds or putting our minds back on, gold and silver to have some tangible
physical assets, so even more physical assets. Yeah. One thing I heard before you answer that question, because I heard this recently, I think it was on Earn Your Leisure, where a lot of the wealthy people, it's art, which is driving up their value, their personal wealth as well. But go ahead, DaVaul.
And that's a good point. Go ahead.
I think The answer to that is diversification, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if we're speaking about people that have art portfolios or even tangible assets or physical assets like gold or silver, this is diversifying away from one specific asset class. And the deeper conversation is understanding where you are asset wise. Is all your money in the stock market? Is all your money in your business? Is all your money in real estate? That is one specific asset class that can be affected. And if you're primarily there, it fluctuates. So I think typically I talk about milestones, and in its infancy, typically you want to have a startup. From there, you start to build to have stability, and then you get to an optimal phase. That optimal phase means you have the foundation sort of set up, emergency funds, you've got protection, you've got something that offers you consistency. And then your next step is to offer diversification. And that can be art, that can be crypto, that can be physical assets. So it's not,
Real estate.
it can be real estate.
Mm-hmm.
In saying that, it's sort of understanding whatever your bread and butter is going to be where you plan to start at. You have to hit milestones to be able to start touching some of these other aspects to offer you stability in the sense that you can continue to grow and maintain your wealth.
There's been so many things as African Americans that have been hid from us in plain sight. You know,
Yeah.
the fact that someone can buy it, Jay-Z, for example, talked about some artwork in one of his rhymes about some artwork that he purchased and how it flipped and grew because that game. And I got to reach out to my brother Najee Henderson. I want to see if I can get him on the show to talk about art and how that can be, an asset that can next thing you know may help you buy that next house that you're trying to buy because you have your hands on this piece of art. Go ahead, Kela. I know you
Exactly.
got it. Go ahead.
No, I mean you're right. You're right. This is when we think about art, we think about rich people. That's rich people purchases. Us common folk don't have that luxury of buying, you know, thousands of dollars worth of art, and then say if we get into a pickle or some form of hardship and we need to just liquidate a piece of art, how do we go about doing that? So I think that's great, like understanding collectibles and certain things, and you
There's
know
so, there's so, there's so many ways. It's really all about value. The art game is that's a whole different conversation, but it's really a group of people to say, okay, you bought it for 10,000. All right, this group of people over here in the art community say, you know what, it's worth 100,000 now. Okay,
Mhm.
and because they see some value in it. We have another question from the audience: inheritance funds for my adult children. I think this is a follow up question from Ellis about some type of inheritance funds for adult children.
So I think if I'm connecting dots, if there are inheritance funds for your children, are you keeping them in high yield savings? Is what I'm thinking. What we're talking about.
Hmm.
I am going to say be selective of where those funds are, because if it's inherited money, you need to consider about pass through for your children, and tax implications can be applied there. But equally, today's dollar is more valuable than tomorrow's dollar if invested in saying that. So, if you have a dollar today and inflation is 6%, guess what? You lost 60% of your buying power
Hmm.
because you didn't keep pace with inflation. So, in short, I guess without completely soliciting advice, be cautious about where that money is. Do I think a high yield savings account would be appropriate for an inheritance fund? If you're a conservative person and you just want to give them that money, yes. Do I think it's the best place? No, just because of some of the tax implications or some of the opportunities that you may be missing out on.
And so there's some other people you need to be consulting. You need to be consulting your tax professional. You need to be consulting an attorney that handles wills and trusts. A lot of us as black folks are dying, and not just the average. When you see what James Brown's family went through and Aretha Franklin's family went through, and these folks when they pass away and they have not made their wishes known, then you have these assets that who knows what's going to happen to them. So that's a different conversation. We need to probably do. So have you been paying attention, DaVaul, to these countries that are now saying that they're now devaluing or not even respecting the dollar? And so, how should we as Americans kind of respond to this dollar being, hey, these countries are saying, all right, we're not even going to take your dollar. Don't come over here visiting and think you're going to spend that money over here because we don't want it.
I think it's a slippery slope. I think from one side of the coin, it always raises concerns and fears that other people are starting to value our own currency, and we're starting to not be looked at as the global reserve that we've always been. But on the other side of the coin, in the world and era now of deglobalization, historically, it's always been a great bet to bet on America, especially when things are coming back to America, such as manufacturing, such as trade is sort of centralized here. So, this is my own personal opinion. Take the advisor hat off. I personally think it's a good thing. It sort of allows us to focus again on our own economy. It allows us to focus again on what is important to America without us sort of hedging into other people's concerns, other people's wars, and having to spend money in other places, whereas our dollar is continuing to thrive, and it'll make us, in the long term, that much more valuable.
Let me ask you this, Kela. You got something? Go ahead, and I can say my
Yeah,
question.
well, it's on my mind real quick. So I
Mm-hmm.
follow at Wealth on IG,
Hmm?
and to Miguel's point, they talked about Saudi Arabia, in Egypt, South Africa, and a few other, countries. And I was reading the comments because it be in the comments for me. It's the comments for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So someone asked, should we be worried? And I know you just mentioned no, we shouldn't be, but I think you're speaking from an individual perspective, as a consensus, as America as a whole. Should we be worried?
Hmm? I think caution should always be had. There should always be some sense of caution. Um, but in hindsight, what can you really do? You can't take your dollars completely out of the banking system without being reputable. You can't put all your dollars in another banking system and be recognized. What you
Mm-hmm.
can do is diversify, and you can use all of them, whether you are on the exchange, whether you're in the stock market, even whatever asset class you're in, you can sort of leverage all of them, but you're limited on what you can or can't do. So, in saying that, and I know this sort of sounds monotonous, but looking back at yourself, have some money that you have access to, not that's in the bank, just some cash, like Auntie used to do, under the bed, in a mattress someplace. Have some cash in a bank. Have your investments, have your will set up, have your protection set up. Those things matter, but there's only but so much that you can do when you have governments and countries that are aligning together, either for what they think is the greater good or the greater bad.
If anybody watching the show, we appreciate you guys. We have quite a few people. If you are watching this, please make sure you like, subscribe, and all that good stuff, our pages, and so you can be alerted whenever we have great conversations like this. If anyone has any other questions or comments you want us to address here with Brother DaVaul, please let us know. What sort of things that are happening? Because here's what Trump just got indicted the other day. You got the stuff going on in Russia. You got the stuff going on at the southern border. There are things that are happening in our society day to day that a lot of people who don't understand that affects our economy. That affects our a lot of things besides just the fact that Trump is getting indicted, right? What sort of things that are happening in the news should trigger activity from us when it comes down to us managing our finances?
Oof, so much, so much. So I think I think paying attention to other people's circumstance. And Miguel, you mentioned a little bit seeing entertainers that go out without having their things in order, their affairs in order. Like seeing that, um, and recognizing that these people were at the top of the mountain and they went out sort of at the bottom of the mountain. Can that happen to me? Absolutely, if you don't take action. So that's one aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Another aspect is paying attention to, I hate to say it, the news to some extent. Like when you hear people getting laid off,
Mm-hmm.
whether it is seen, because right now we have, y'all about to open me up a little bit.
Hey
I think
man, that's
so.
what we're here for.
I think in seeing this right now, you kind of, when last year, when things started to go away, we heard about a recession this, recession that.
Mm-hmm.
This has been so far the most telegraphed recession that we've been in quite some time. Basically, the government, economists, analysts have pretty much said, get prepared because things could get bad before they get better. Now, when the great crisis happened in 08, 09, we didn't have any we didn't have any foresight. It
Mm-hmm.
happened and we had to react as a result and we had to figure it out. Well, when you start hearing things like this, take action to, how are you paying attention to what's happening with your job? Are you aligning yourself with people that can keep you connected? Are you making sure your financial affairs in order, emergency savings included? Are you paying attention to the benefits that are a part of your package, regardless of your position? As an entrepreneur, is your income stability? Are you looking to other places to secure your stability? What
Mm-hmm.
does your protection plan look like? And protection plan can be forms of insurance. But sort of putting those things in perspective just to make sure the bag is secure, but also to make sure that the people that are dependent on you are equally secure. And that, I can go a long time with that, but that in a nutshell is sort of what
Well,
we need to pay attention
and
to.
then I want to make sure you get an opportunity because I'm sure you may have some specific things you wanted to talk about before we let you go in the next few minutes. Because I want to give you the opportunity to do that. But in '08, there was no Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. There was none of that, right? There was no YouTube. If it was at the very beginning. We have access to more information now than we ever have. And as you talk about the telegraphing of what's happening, do you think that was a great strategy for the powers that be? Because there was, and you talking about '08, you talking about 1933, the Depression. We were dependent on physical workers. We were dependent on labor. We were dependent on stuff that we're just not as dependent on today. And so, when you talk about that, do you think that's a good thing? Do you see that's the reason why it hasn't been as fast a decline, or can it still happen at that rate, even though we have access to all this information?
Yeah. So I guess backing up, I don't mind if we ask questions the whole time, however long I can stay. I'm here for you all and the people. But in saying that, I think where we are with the amount of information that we can have, data is still king. Um, so if data
Mm-hmm.
is still king, the inevitable can always happen. But learning how to navigate and sift through that data. Google will tell you a whole lot of everything, but how does it apply to you? Same
Mm-hmm.
thing with YouTube. How does it
Mm-hmm.
apply to you? So when you look at data, politics aside, pay attention to economic data. How does inflation affect the economy as a whole? How does business revenue for the country apply to the economy of a whole? So some people like that kind of stuff, like me. Other people don't like that kind of stuff. But that is where you kind of understand where and how, you know, your team needs to be structured. So adding to this, in aspect of where we are with the information that's given, the information that we do see coming out economically is it's kind of good. Like we are on the heels of a pandemic that was unexpected, just like the Great Depression, just like the crisis that happened in '08, '09. So
Mm-hmm.
on the heels of the pandemic, regardless of whether you're pro-government or not government, there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot that was given to the country as a whole, from stimulus to PPP to childcare to extensions of all type of different assets, and you have to figure out how to recover from that economically. But this time around, our government as a whole was able to speak to investors, consumers alike, and let them know we're going to have to pay this bill sooner than later, and this is what it's going to look like. And that's where the telegraph has come into place here. And that's sort of where we are now. So I don't know if I just answered the question, but I think the question, depending on the answer, is sort of driven by a lot of different factors, and everybody's situation is unique, if that makes sense.
Kela?
No, that was, I think you answered the question. If I may, I want to get in your business a little bit, because I'm all for the whole practice what you preach. What type of assets, what does your portfolio look like?
So my portfolio, I have market portfolio. So I am in the market, both on the fixed income side and the equity side. I do have real estate. And that's it. And I do believe in protection, and protection is in forms of insurance. There is a business that I am preparing to start. But to answer your question deeper, I'll tell you about where I'm trying to go. How about that? I think in the aspect, it is important to touch all of our asset classes as best as you can. So all your eggs aren't in one basket.
Yeah.
But in focusing on different asset classes, you have your own bread and butter. If your business is where you thrive at, so be it. But you're going to get to a place in your business eventually to where you can sort of spread the wealth and go someplace else. And that can be, hey, now it's my time to focus on real estate. And same process repeating itself. So that's how I look at it for myself. And that's how I'm going to continue to apply it for myself in the future.
Let me ask you this: the habits, the consumer habits around the pandemic for a lot of us have changed, right? We got groceries that are delivered to our doors, right? We've got food. Everyone's using food, and it almost costs you the same to get DoorDash as it is to get those groceries, right? You got people, right? You got people dropping cars off on your doorstep. How has the pandemic changed the way people have managed their money?
I think the pandemic made people more aware of their money. Some of the shortcomings that people have once had, it became that much more present because you had time, we couldn't go outside. So people were a little bit more conscious to kind of dig into some things that they hadn't had the time to do so before. I think when it comes to spending is how America stays rich, is how we do. So that's a trickle down effect to who we are as consumers. But I think just the pandemic as a whole has shed light that, hey, where I was then can't be where I am now. I need to focus a little bit more on either generating revenue, and that can be from different sources, or sort of maintaining what I have by sort of sticking to budgeting and a little bit more conservative options.
We have a little bit longer question. I want to see if we can address this. Are banks in the community for what the bank can do for the community, or for what the bank can gain from the income that is deposited? It appears that banks are extracting wealth from communities that are not as financially literate.
That was good. That was strong.
So, we need to catch a drink and have a conversation.
Right.
I think, take banks and switch banks to businesses. Take businesses and switch that to people. We do it across the board. We take advantage of those that are not as educated as we are. And it doesn't matter what side of the market you're on, but that sort of stresses the importance of education across the board. So banks themselves are really highlighted here in America because we're a consumer-driven economy. So I personally see the banks, that's just their business. And if you want to do business with a bank, I think as an individual, it's important for you to understand the business of how the bank makes their money. Now, is that on the bank's job? Is it on the bank to sort of teach people that? That's give or take.
Well, the banks are businesses, guys. No. We've got to be smart, right? The bank's job is to get our money, manage our money, and reinvest that money where they see fit, right? And that's why we have to be conscious of what banks we're doing business with. We look at the situation out there in San Francisco with the bank that was over leveraged in tech businesses, and those businesses didn't flourish, and so they went out of business. So let's not think banks are just some magical industry. They are people who they get our money, they hold our money, they take that portfolio, and they go get more money by reinvesting it where they feel it, where they see fit, and then they charge us a bunch of fees when we overdrafted. So,
and Miguel,
go ahead.
Adding to that, if it's a publicly traded company, you can look at their financials. But many people don't take that aspect to do that. But that's just a little bit of a deeper dive. I think that is more of an entrepreneurial spirit. But you can sort of vet these companies, banks included, businesses included, and people to kind of identify, is it a good fit for you?
Brother, we've thrown a whole lot of questions at you today. You definitely have knocked them out the park. We appreciate you, because we got to stop looking. You are one aspect of a financial relationship that we should all have. You got to have your banker, you got to have your insurance brokers, you got to have your money manager, you got to have, it's different people that we should all have. And so we definitely appreciate you being so candid with us today. Before we let you go, what else? Make sure, how can people reach you, and if you want to potentially take them on as a client?
Yeah. So ideally, you can reach me. You can look on edwardjones.com. Look my name up. It's spelled DaVaul. Last name is Carter. You can check me out there. I am on LinkedIn. If you look up in the registry, if you're a part of the ABC, I'm equally there as well. Call phone, call, text, email. I don't mind. I do like working with those that are motivated to do better than where they currently are now, or they need to provide structure for their current situation to people that depend on them. Entrepreneurs, families, individuals. I don't mind at all as long as you come motivated and prepared to work because I can't want it more than you. And if that fits you, give me a shout. Any of you that ask questions, I would love to talk to you a little bit more. But in saying that, if you need help, you're not sure where to go, please reach out and we can have a candid conversation together.
Perfect. Well, we'll get you to drop your information in the chat. One more question before we get out of here. And this one is from So Left Field. How many vertical/streams of revenue should we strive to have in our portfolios?
I love the name. I personally think as many as you can really maintain with focusing on building one first. Stabilize one, build to the next. I'm perfectly fine with sort of diversifying your income stream, but figure out how to optimize one before we get to two, and same thing with 3 and 4.
Brother, we appreciate you, man. As we mentioned, for being so candid with us today, and make sure you drop your information in there. You guys follow up with them without question, see where there's some opportunities, and y'all done got all the free questions y'all gonna get answered today. Next thing's gonna be a consultation. but Brother DaVaul, how long you been a member of the chamber? I know it's been a minute.
I think maybe 4 years now. Just about either 3 or 4 years.
How has it helped your business?
The chamber connections are fantastic. I think Kela relayed on hers when I met her, and the people that I've connected with in the chamber have been fantastic. Business or no business, just the networking opportunity. I do have some clients in the chamber. It's been masterful, just finding opportunities to connect, to add value to others, or to potentially add values to the people that I serve as well.
That's it. We just got to make sure we're always adding value. Thank you so much. We appreciate you, brother, for being on the show today, and we'll catch you soon.
No problem, y'all. Thank y'all for having me.
All right.
Good to see y'all.
All right, man. Great conversation, Brother DaVaul. He carried it for us today. We didn't have our second guest, but I think between them and the guest in the chat, I think we had a good conversation today.
Definitely very high level. Yeah, and we just need to keep these conversations going. Miguel, I do feel like, the age that we're in, which is information, it is allowing us to get smarter.
Yes.
Feeling, not just seeing what's happening in the news, but actually feeling it. Because I know that I'm feeling it. Like I'm not in the same even tax bracket that I was in back, in 2015 or 16 or pre-COVID.
Absolutely.
My life has totally changed. So, and I'm feeling it.
Yeah.
So I know that I'm getting smarter, and it has forced me to get smarter about financial wisdom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When we think about the history, if you look at the history of where a lot of wealth was created, it is created during times like this. And we was like, well, how does that make sense? It makes sense because of the fact that people who are not distracted by all of the noise, they're taking advantage of this stuff, man. And when you see people that are out here making millions and millions of dollars, and you see them on IG, and some of them are blowing smoke, some of them are renting those Bentleys and doing all that nonsense, and they're selling it. But there's some out here that are legit. They are legitimately killing it.
I really feel like the ones that are flashing the Rolls Royces and the Rolexes, don't follow them, to be honest.
Right.
All the ones that's walking around in Keds or Converse.
I tell you all the time, a lot of these white guys walking around, as you mentioned, in Keds and jeans, and you look at the folks over at Apple with the same turtleneck on and jeans, but that was the story. There are so many people out here. A lot of, when you look at what's going on with the guys at Earn Your Leisure and the guests and the people that they're bringing, that's giving you information that you can verify yourself. You can do the research on this stuff and understand what is going on. We have to get ourselves in a different income class while we're building these businesses, so that it doesn't take 1 or 2 clients for us to be like, oh my God, I'm losing my mind. Well, okay. All right, client, let me move on to the next one. You're lost. But the game has truly, truly changed. So anyway, listen, before we get out of here, great conversation today. First time on the show. How you like the energy? It's not too bad, huh?
No, I told you, when we spoke on the phone yesterday, I was like, I'm nervous, but it's a good nervous.
Yeah.
And you have a lot to do with that, because I wouldn't be able to just do this with anybody. I would literally like go into lose my words, all that.
No, I got you covered. Ain't no doubt about that. We all about help, but it's getting us to the
Yeah.
next level. The conversations that we have, and these type of conversations, guys, if you're out there and you have next month is May, we haven't quite decided what we're going to do next month. But we will be getting into that time of the year. Sometimes we're getting into graduations, and sometimes it may be some HR type of stuff, or what are we going to do with these kids? It's getting ready to graduate, where are they going? You're getting into the summer months. So we'll decide what that's going to be. If you have an interest in being a guest, or if you have you want to bring us some insight, just email us at communications with an S at Atlanta Black Chambers with an S. And shoot me an email. Let me we'll get with our production team and make some decisions on who it is that we're going to talk about. Let's see what businesses we have in our chat today. Let's see, goats for sale. Okay, don't know what that means, good brother, but you're here, so we go. I don't know what goats for sale. Roofs by Don. He also has the Roof Gallery is also there, and then Roofs by Don is also there. So he got a few businesses going on. Ain't nothing wrong with that at all. Y'all disappointed me today. Nobody's dropping y'all business. I'm giving y'all opportunity. Opportunity. Where you at? Where your business is? Drop them in the chat so we can bring them up on the screen so people can have an opportunity to do business with you. We want to thank all the people we've had. We've had quite a few people who've been viewing this show here today on all of our platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as what am I forgetting? YouTube as well. So make sure you follow us on all those platforms. And I'm gonna talk Kela, and we're gonna do some Instagram live stuff too. We're gonna do some of that too.
Oh yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
we cannot forget about our sis, Sheena Robinson.
Yes.
Coming up.
Yes.
That's part of Financial Literacy Month.
Tell us about it.
Well, you know what? We don't have the marketing material dropped yet, but we just want to definitely put it on the viewers' radar to be on the lookout for Money Smart. That's
Money
huge.
Smart. Yes, Money Smart will be coming up towards the end of this month. I know Sheena also has another event that she's doing, I think in her own business that she, I think you showed the flyer. It may have came in our emails today.
Yeah, she's doing a Royal Tea Party event. I have it here, Royal Tea Party. It's going to be at the Fairfield Inn by Marriott, 825 Highway 138 Southeast in Stockbridge. And you can RSVP at divaforwealthevents with an S.com.
And so once again, another event coming in the South Metro. So it's a perfect time for me to plug the South Metro. If you are below I-20 and you are in Henry County or Clayton County or Fayette County, we have a once a month South Metro mixer that we do every first Tuesday at Pseudo's Bar and Grill in Ellenwood. It's always very well attended. We're working on another one right now that will be in McDonough, which I'm gonna love that because I can ride my bike over there and check that one.
Out there.
Yeah, and then it'll be right off of the highway. For people always joke and say, "Oh, you live down there in North Florida." Yeah, but y'all coming, boy. Henry County, I'm telling you, 6th fastest growing county in the country. It's the 6th fastest growing county in the country, and then all of a sudden y'all gonna look up and be like, "Oh, I need to buy me a house down south." Come on, so my home values can go up. So there's opportunities there. Yeah, go ahead. You could jump in. Go ahead.
So Pseudo Bar and Grill, do you own that? Is that your spot?
No. That's and you would put me out there. I'm trying to remember the brother's name. But he actually is the only black-owned cricket dealer. He owns a cricket wireless business as well. But no, that relationship was fostered with D. Clemens, Bruce Holmes, about a couple of years ago. We appreciate what they did in bringing that relationship, and it's been amazing for the community for the last 3 years. We started it before the pandemic, and it continues. But there's a JR Crickets that we're working on right now, a relationship with them. We'll be working on a restaurant initiative. Something that I personally have been advocating for, where there's some of the most successful black-owned businesses we have in our communities are in the restaurant business and are in the hair care business. But what we know is that they're so busy that they can't come up out of their businesses to come to our meetings. And so we're going to do the best we can to give them opportunities. That we're going to bring some of these opportunities to them. And so look for that to be coming here really soon. We also are working on, there is a brother, Damon Crump, who was selected as one of our Titans of industry. He's going to have a social event that's going to be coming up here at the end of April. So keep an eye out for that marketing coming as well. So good. People are following instructions. We got a few people who have dropped their businesses in the chat. We have Stephanie White, Diligence One Financial Solutions Accounting and Bookkeeping Services. Thank you for joining us today. My man, Stacy Porter, Reporter Global Securities. He's always a great he's been on our show a couple of times. Glad to have that brother here. Valencia Thornton, she got her email address there, Cram Academy Professional Development for Math Teachers. That's something I always, teachers have some of the best opportunities, man, to help out people like us who need to build syllabuses and develop courses. They know how to do it. They do it. And they got 2 to 3 months off in the summer. So if you're a teacher, there's an opportunity for you there. Garrett Davis, Control and Reverse Interest, Accumulate Cash and Leverage is his business. And let me see, I think, and thank you, So Left Field. Brant is the owner of Pseudos. Yes, thank you for putting his name in the chat. All right, so we had a great show today. You guys, we appreciate you guys. Make sure you follow us on all the social medias so you can keep up with when we go live. You have my old raggedy face and this pretty face on the right that's going to be bringing you this information and all of these interviews here. And we'll see you next month. God bless. We'll talk to y'all.
For us to make bold moves. Now
Founded the Black Panther Party. Actually, the Black Panther.
We worked with many to your work.
Back into the hearts and the minds of our community. I got into this thing